Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's doing well and had a good weekend. It was very, very hot where I'm staying this weekend. So this is my "Won't You Be My Neighbor" movie review, and this is a movie about Mr. Rogers and not necessarily his life. It's not a biopic. It's a documentary. It's more about kind of what he stood for and what he represented. It's directed by Morgan Neville. The only other movie I think he's done is 20 Feet from Stardom, which is another documentary, which I was fascinated by, and for some reason I have not seen it. So I'm going to have to see it soon. This movie is really good. I think it's a little. A lot of the people that I've heard reviewing it are like, "Oh, I cried, I cried." Yeah, I got choked up a couple places, but I did maybe because I heard that so much. I was like, "Okay, where are the huge tears gonna?" Some people were like, "Oh, I had to wait until the end of the credits, and everyone left because of my tears." And it's not. For me, it wasn't, and a lot of it maybe that's sad. Maybe that says something more about me and how I've become somewhat cynical in my old age. I grew up watching the show. I, I don't want to say every day, but often. Every time it was on, if I was in school or if it was on Saturday or something, I would watch it every time that I could. This and Sesame Street were like my two big shows, and maybe even more so this one, because I remember there were a couple episodes where he would show how certain things were made, and I just found that a little bit more fascinating. And Mr. Rogers, I don't know that it could work today on this show. I thought it was a fantastic show, and this man was a seemingly incorruptible man. And he represented absolute goodness and kindness, and I don't know that it would work today. I feel like the way the media is, they would try so hard to find something, and even with him, there's this despicable interview where this guy's like, "Are you gay?" or "What is?" Just come on. It it's almost like people don't want to believe that somebody could be that good. And to this day, there's no dirt on him. There's nothing. He 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 was an ordained minister, and this was, I think, sort of like this was him doing what he thought was God's work. His show is not religious. He didn't throw Jesus in your face or anything like that. He through his actions, I think that spoke louder than anything. And I remember watching him all the time, and him just telling you to be okay. And there's something that really resonated in me. I did get choked up a couple places. I didn't cry. Um, you know, I grew up with someone in my household who would often just straight up say that I was nothing, and that I was worthless. And that there's a line in this movie where he says that devaluing somebody so that they feel that they've lost their own sense of self worth is really the truest, most absolute form of evil. And it was those lines that really got to me. If I had to describe this movie in one word, I don't want to say uplifting because I'd said that about Wonder, but I'm going to say positive. This is a very, very positive movie. I think everyone should see it. He really was a great man. He was very forward thinking too, and he understood. He exemplified through his behavior. Um, a lot of people say one thing and they'll do it. He lived up to it. He lived up to everything that he believed, and I find him admirable. Uh, he 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 did teach you to love yourself, and maybe that's something that over the years I've kind of lost. Um, eh, eh, this movie is caused me to reflect on myself. I only saw it a few hours ago, and I really love it. And I don't know, maybe I'll think about it some more tomorrow. It's late at night tonight, but I recommend you go see this movie. I'm gonna go ahead and predict right now that this movie is not only going to get nominated, but it's going to win for best documentary. I don't see any documentary beating this year. It may. I'll say there's a chance it might get nominated for best picture. Um, but I don't think so. I think it'll definitely get nominated and win best documentary. So that'll set up this guy Morgan Neville for an Academy Award. This is a very great, uplifting, positive movie, and it really shows the power of positivity. Um, yeah, I don't know that his show would work today. Sadly, he's no longer with us, but he was one of the people on TV that influenced us and or influenced me, influenced my life, for a very long time, for maybe about the first, maybe until I was in my late 20s, maybe even 30, maybe up until my late 20s. I was a very positive person. I believed in helping one another and this and that, and just I guess the struggles of life have sort of, I'm if me from 15 years ago could kind of see me now, they'd be like, "What happened?" And you know, life is life. But I do still, when it comes to children, have a very soft spot. I don't like children being. I don't like bullies. I don't like kids being bullied, and certainly not demeaned by adults or other kids. Because that's just terrible. And the things you do and say, just because they aren't able to necessarily articulate their emotions at that young age, doesn't mean that they don't feel what you feel. Um, and I think Mr. Rogers, you could tell in this movie, the person he was on screen was the person he was off screen, and that caused the show to have um, a sense of sincerity, and there was a genuineness about him that I think is lost today. He didn't care about money or power or things like that. Obviously, he cared about funding, but he didn't care about fame. What he really wanted to do was help children, and he succeeded in that. And he was a very positive influence in my life, and I think to a lot of other people as well. So I was gonna give this movie an 89, but just sitting here talking about it, I'm gonna give it a 92. It's a fantastic movie. I highly recommend you go see this, especially if you're like Gen X or an older millennial. You might have remembered this. Sad kids today were born after, the 2000s. Probably not, don't know who he is. Maybe they do. I don't know. Maybe on reruns. But go see this movie. I even tried to wear the most Mister Rogers-ish thing that I could find, but this is about what I had. As close to a sweater. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Put your comments down below. Like and subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Alright, bye.